Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of A Healthy Dose of Fran. Today I'm talking about superheroes, but in particular Supergirl. Now, Supergirl is a character that I've always been interested in, especially from the CW series introduction of Zor-El. Now, from the introduction of Superman and the most recent season looking at refugees in Aliens, there's been a lot more interest in her as a character from my side and also from others. Now, from a Tumblr post that I found, which I will link in the description box down below, I had a lot of thoughts about her in the most recent seasons and also throughout the series as a whole, and it made me wonder if Supergirl may actually resent her cousin Superman. Now, before anyone says anything, there are reasons behind my thoughts of Kara resenting Clark. But the other point of all of this is that I don't think it is just Clark that she resents. I think he is possibly the larger part of it because his actions lead to the way in which she is supposed to act. But I also think it is a resentment of humankind because as a race, we have given Clark this stature. We have made Superman a god on Earth, the saviour of Earth, this ultimate being who has to live up to these expectations, because if they don't, we will turn on them like that. And that's exactly actually what happens in season 4 of Supergirl. One small thing happens and Supergirl is the enemy of the world. And I think this is something that kind of really delves into the issues that Kara has with the way in which the human race rely on her and Superman. And I think this is a really interesting point also that leads on to the way in which both her and Clark were raised. Kara had a good amount of time learning and living on Krypton, understanding their way of life and their ideology. Whereas Clark has little to no connection to Krypton other than being born there. His learning of Krypton came from a robot in the Fortress of Solitude, and later bits of information that came from Kara. Other than that, he has no real connection, so his way of being on Earth is very different to what Kara originally would have done. And it's this way that I kind of consider almost that Clark and Kara are what would be considered protagonist and antagonist, not in the way in which they are enemies, but Clark's ideology conflicts and goes against Kara's ideology. Now, in Tim Hickson's book on writing and world building, a quote like this very much points towards the elements in which I am thinking of here for Clark and Kara. When building a rivalry, it is often more interesting when the conflict is not just physical, but ideological. By making the protagonist-antagonist rivalry ideological, the challenge is far more personal. Now, to reiterate, I don't think Kara and Clark are enemies. Instead, from the quote that was just mentioned, it is just that their ideologies are the things that clash and give them this sort of protagonist-antagonist way of acting and reacting to each other. Clark is righteous in his actions. He believes things should be done in a certain way. He is the lone wolf, the saviour. Whereas Kara, having grown up with her family and the Zor-El code of stronger together, doesn't think this is the way to be, but because of Clark, that is exactly how she has to be. Which is why I find it interesting that if she had in fact arrived first, if she had become Supergirl first, things may have been very different, and maybe she would have been different. Kara is filled with anger and pain, but due to the superhero image her cousin created, as Supergirl, she cannot afford to show it, nor even as Kara. But red kryptonite was our way of seeing how Kara wanted to be, in some form at least. The anger, the hurt, the simplicity in her image as Supergirl is what she wanted. Look at her outfit here. It's dark, understated, easier mobility, and her family crest is small, but worn with a personal dignity. Compare that to what we know, and it is starkly different. Yet this is what Kara would have gone with, if not for Clark. And I think this is mainly because of the history and the hurt that Kara feels for her home planet. She saw it destroyed. She lived a life there and knows that it is gone. But Clark, though knowing that it is gone and that it is something that is a distant memory, not even a real memory because he was so young when he was sent away, he doesn't feel the same hurt and betrayal and anger that Kara does, and as such his way of approaching things is incredibly different. But Kara, even though she is in so much pain, cannot let it out because of Clark. But we can't really blame him. Clark was a baby when he was sent away from Krypton. He doesn't understand their way of life like Kara does, and as such, his way of protecting Earth is vastly different. Clark is the saviour who will stop at nothing to protect the Earth. But Kara, she doesn't think this is the way. Like her family's motto of stronger together, Kara believes that with the power of her family and her friends, she can fight for the Earth, not as its sole protector, but as a helper to provide the platform for humankind to stand on their own. But because of Clark, she must bear the weight of the world alone. Before anyone kills me, I'm not saying Clark is the reason for all of Kara's problems and the fact that she has to hide who she would truly wish to be, but in fact, I think actually the human race is the reason for all of these problems. We are the ones who gave Superman this godlike status. We are the ones who held him to such a high standard that anyone who didn't reach it was automatically an enemy. Now, the cases where Supergirl has messed up or made mistakes in the past, she is vilified for every single mistake she's made because of the level that Clark has put up as Superman. And while I know that it is not his fault, because he doesn't know the way in which things would have been on Krypton, there are still a lot of things that he could have done differently. Kara is the kindest, sweetest, most vigilant character in the DC, possibly even rivaling Wonder Woman. Not that she ever gets the same amount of credit, often being considered the second-rate Superman. But in the CW universe of Supergirl, Kara is a lot more than that. In fact, I would even say she is better than Superman. But because of the way in which time and the universe seem to work, nothing ever went in her favour. Now I know what Kara would be like. She would never outrightly state her resentment for Clark, nor would she even admit it to herself that she is angry and frustrated in the fact that the world will not save itself. They expect someone else to do it for them. Because that's all they've ever known since Superman came into the world. And because of this, Kara will continue to fight the way in which she wouldn't have if she had started. But she will do it with a head held high and know that even though this isn't how she would have done things, she is still making a difference. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me that Supergirl may resent her cousin and the human race? Or do you think she may have other feelings towards them? Also, how do you think she may have gone about doing things if she became Supergirl first? Let me know in the comment section down below. But in general, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you go to the description box down below, you'll find the link to the Tumblr post that originally sparked these thoughts, as well as the links to my Instagram and Patreon, where on Patreon you can get early access to any and all of my videos, as well as have a say as to what comes out in future. Here on YouTube, however, if you guys aren't already subscribed, go to the button down below or click the one popping up here on screen. If you want to check out my previous superhero videos, the playlist will be popping up here, and then something else for you guys will be popping up here. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.